What do we know about the motives of criminals? It's hard to say. There are millions of criminals in the world, each with their own motivations for committing crimes. But one thing is certain, some crime stories can make your blood run cold. Recently, the internet was thrown into a frenzy when a young man confessed to being a serial killer. Let's find out more about this horrifying case. But they soon realized that the person they had arrested was not acting alone. The killer had an accomplice who had somehow managed to evade capture. When the police arrested the prime suspect, they brought him to the station for questioning. By day, he was a seemingly ordinary young man working a 9-to-5 job and taking classes at the local community college. But they knew that the fate of countless lives hung in the balance, and they wouldn't give up until they had brought the mastermind behind it all to justice. One day, while browsing the dark web, he stumbled upon a hidden forum that introduced him to a group of like-minded individuals who shared his morbid interests. At first, he thought it was just a random online community, but little did he know that he had just entered a gateway to a secret society with sinister intentions. All of these elements combined to transform him into a ruthless killer. But his story takes a terrifying twist when we learn that he was not acting alone. Behind his every move was a mastermind puppeteer who controlled his actions with precision. But who was behind all this, and what was their ultimate goal? The answer will shock you. To understand this horrific case, we first have to look at the young man at the center of it all. Raised by loving parents in a quiet neighborhood, he seemed like any other typical teenager. However, beneath his charming exterior lay a troubled past that would ultimately lead to his transformation into a ruthless killer. As a child, he had been the victim of severe abuse at the hands of his adoptive parents. This traumatic experience left him with deep psychological scars that would haunt him for the rest of his life. To escape his abusive home environment, he sought refuge in the virtual world. He spent hours on end playing violent video games, which normalized his fascination with death and violence. But by night, he was a ruthless killer, preying on unsuspecting victims and leaving their bodies in gruesome states. The police were baffled by his seemingly split personality and desperate to uncover the truth. They delved deeper into his past, hoping to find a clue as to why he had committed such heinous crimes. What they found was a trail of manipulation and deceit that pointed to a sinister force controlling him from the shadows. The more the police dug into the case, the more convinced they became that there was something else at play here, something beyond the young man's control. They suspected that he was being manipulated by someone or something and were determined to uncover the mastermind behind it all. As the pieces of the puzzle began to come together, the police faced a terrifying realization. The young man wasn't just a pawn in someone else's game. He was the product of a sinister experiment conducted by a shadowy organization known only as the Organization. The organization had been experimenting on him since he was a child, turning him into the perfect weapon. But what was their purpose? Who were they working for, and why did they choose this young man as their subject? The police were faced with a race against time, as they tried to uncover the truth and stop the organization's sinister plans before it was too late. The young man sat nervously in the chair across from the detective, his eyes downcast and his hands fidgeting. He had been accused of a terrible crime and he was desperate to explain himself. "I swear I didn't do it," he said, his voice shaking. "I don't even know what you're talking about." The detective leaned forward, his expression grim. "Don't play coy with me," he said. "We have evidence that links you to the crime scene. You were seen leaving the victim's apartment building and your DNA was found in her car." The young man's eyes widened in surprise. I don't understand," he stammered. "I would never hurt a fly. I don't even know who the victim is." The detective's gaze was unwavering. "We believe you've been involved in a series of brutal murders," he said, "and we need you to tell us what you know." The young man shook his head, his face pale and drawn. "I don't know anything," he whispered. "I promise." The detective wasn't convinced. He knew that the young man was hiding something, but he couldn't seem to get him to talk. Frustrated, he decided to change tactics. "Look," he said, his voice softer now, "I know this is hard for you, but you need to tell me what happened. It's the only way we can put this behind us." The young man hesitated, then began to speak. But as he started to tell his story, it became clear that something was wrong. His words were jumbled and his sentences didn't make sense. I remembered," he said, his voice trailing off. "I remember a woman. She was beautiful, and I loved her. But then I saw her face. It was covered in blood. And I don't remember anything after that." The detective looked at him, his expression unreadable. "Tell me again," he said slowly. "What do you remember?" The young man closed his eyes, trying to focus. "Her name was Sarah," he whispered, "and we met at the mall. She was wearing a blue dress, and her hair was like spun gold. We talked for hours, and then we went back to my place. That's all I remember." The detective nodded, scribbling notes on a pad, and when you woke up, he prompted gently. "I was in a dark place," the young man said, his voice trembling. "I couldn't see anything. And then I heard a voice. It said, 'You did well today, soldier. You have one more mission.' Then everything went black." The detective sat back, his mind racing. He knew that the young man was hiding something, but he wasn't sure what. Was he really innocent, or was he playing them all? Determined to bring all the perpetrators to justice, the police redoubled their efforts. They followed every lead and pursued every possible theory until they finally uncovered the identity of the accomplice. This breakthrough allowed the police to solve the case and put all those responsible behind bars where they belonged. Justice had been served, but the scars left by these crimes would never be forgotten. And don't forget to stay till the end to see what made this killer unique. But he claimed that he couldn't remember why or how he committed the heinous acts. He could unrecall anything about his life before the age of 23. He also had no recollection of ever meeting his alleged accomplice. Confronted with this confusing evidence, investigators delved deeper into the case. They discovered disturbing details about the young man's past, including allegations of childhood abuse and unexplained gaps in his memory. As they pieced together the fragmented puzzle of his life, they uncovered a dark secret that explained his bizarre behavior. The young man was a victim of a sinister experiment conducted by a secret government agency known only as the Organization. As part of their twisted research, his memories had been erased every 10 minutes, leaving him with no recollection of his past and no way to defend himself against the false accusations. Now, facing the possibility that this seemingly innocent young man could be a dangerous killer, authorities must race against time to uncover the truth and restore his lost memories before it is too late. But as they dig deeper, they uncover a web of lies and deceit that threatens to destroy everything they believe in. Can they trust what they see, or will they fall victim to the same mind games that have trapped the young man in a world of confusion and fear? It all started in 2019 when a string of murders shocked the small town of Allentown, Pennsylvania. A woman named Nicole went missing after leaving her home. Her car was found abandoned near a shopping mall, but she was nowhere to be seen. As days turned into weeks, it became clear that Nicole had become another victim of the many unsolved cases that plagued the area. Frustrated by the lack of progress, her family decided to take matters into their own hands. They launched a massive search effort that involved hundreds of volunteers combing through local parks and wooded areas. The community was deeply affected by the mystery surrounding Nicole's disappearance. Hope faded with each passing day until suddenly a break in the case occurred. The police had finally caught up with a lead that could bring them closer to solving the crime. This development gave the family a reason to keep going, knowing that justice might be within reach. Their efforts paid off when they found a crucial piece of evidence that helped the police identify a suspect in connection with Nicolas' disappearance. Finally, there was someone to hold accountable for what had happened. With renewed determination, the family continued their search, refusing to give up hope that Nicole would be found safe and sound. Their persistence paid off when the police were able to apprehend the suspect thanks to the valuable information provided by the family. While it was too late for Nicole, her loved ones could at least find comfort in knowing that justice would be served. All seemed to be going well for the police as they moved closer to solving these brutal murders. The investigation revealed a shocking twist. The main suspect, a seemingly ordinary young man from the neighborhood, confessed to the killings. Let's rewind back to the beginning and explore the details of this case. As the investigation continued, the police discovered that the young man had been living a double life. With each passing moment, the stakes rose and the danger increased. Then came the fateful day that changed everything.